Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley.
Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast. Once again, this is episode number 258, entitled Tired of WooCommerce? Try NorthCommerce. It was published on Thursday, the 9th of December, 2021. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and just before we begin having our interview today, just one quick thing, and that is to say, bizarrely, I know that Black Friday is already over, but our Black Friday page still has a whole bunch of deals on it. There's about 27 at the time of counting. I fear that by the time this podcast episode airs, that might be more like 22 or 23, but nevertheless, there's still a few there. It's wpbuilds.com/black. So this is a last minute call if you're still into some WordPress deals. You never know, there might be something still out there available for you. One more time, wpbuilds.com/black. And just before we begin today's podcast episode, a quick reminder, if you'd like to subscribe to the things that we do on WP Builds, that's podcast episodes and This Week in WordPress, a weekly show which happens every Monday, then head over to wpbuilds.com/subscribe and fill out the form there, and we will keep you updated when we produce new content. Speaking of WP Builds This Week in WordPress show, join us every Monday, 2 p.m. UK time, wpbuilds.com/live. Good to see you there. Okay, let's get on with the podcast today. It's number 258, and as I said, it's called Tired of WooCommerce? Try NorthCommerce. I'm betting that many of you have never heard of NorthCommerce because honestly, I hadn't either. But as soon as I did and I checked out the page, I was really curious. The intention is that it will be, at some point, a complete replacement for WooCommerce. But the intention also is that you'll have this thing called a micro builder. So you'll be able to page builder, like build out all of your e-commerce store pages. That could be your landing pages, it could be your checkout pages, and so on and so forth. So we've got Kelly Muro, who's the developer, on the podcast today, and he's talking all about why he's entering this busy space. Incredibly difficult proposition, taking on WooCommerce, but he's going to describe what there is so far, how you can get involved, and because it's early beta or alpha stages of the product, you never know, you might be able to have some sort of influence. But there's loads of interesting stuff in there, what's featured, what's coming up, what's there right now, and so on. So if you're doing WooCommerce websites, this may really be of interest to you. I hope that you enjoy the podcast. I am here with Kelly Muro. Hi there, Kelly.
How's it going, Nathan?
Yeah, really well. This is the first time that we've spoken. I think it's fair to say we've had a modest email exchange about this episode, and we sort of strayed off a little bit. But we're going to hit the target today because we're talking about e-commerce on WordPress. But normally when we say those words, the next word to come out of my mouth would be WooCommerce, and that's exactly what we're not going to be talking about. We shall probably talk about it tangentially, but the purpose of today's episode is to raise awareness about something really new and intriguing and a bit different that Kelly has been working on called NorthCommerce. And if you want to get a bit of a lowdown on what's going on over there, pause the podcast, head over to northplugins.com, all as one word, northplugins.com, have a poke around there and then come back and hit play and you'll have a greater understanding of what we're talking about. So, Kelly, what's NorthCommerce?
So, I'm almost reluctant to say it because it's it's quite the beast. But NorthCommerce is a brand new e-commerce solution for WordPress. So we're talking a WooCommerce competitor of sorts, and something that hopefully will help a lot of online stores that are built on WordPress build a better, more modern e-commerce store.
When you say it's a WooCommerce competitor, obviously, we won't get into the whole like for like, point by point kind of thing, but are you trying to emulate the major features that we would know? Are there any kind of crucial things at this point that differentiate you, or is it basically the same thing? What are we looking at if we install it and get stuck in?
Yeah, so once you install NorthCommerce, you'll see a pretty big difference in terms of user interface than WooCommerce. But you have your standard analytics, you have order overviews, product creation, automated emails and text messages that you can customize fully. But one of the biggest differences we have is something called the North Commerce Micro Builder. And so we, with WooCommerce being kind of like a developer-centric solution, we wanted to sort of address some of the issues that some of these no-code drag-and-drop builder guys were dealing with. And so, we see the WordPress ecosystem growing so much with web designers and people using these drag-and-drop builders like Divi or Elementor, Oxygen. And so we wanted to address some of the needs or frustrations that those people were having with working with WooCommerce. And so that's a huge difference with North Commerce as our builder.
So you've got a builder, and I'm guessing it's akin to a page builder in the sense that you've got components which you drag onto a canvas, and once you've dragged them onto that canvas, that is how it looks, and then you can kind of move them around and put different things in different places, which I think has always been one of the major frustrations about WooCommerce. Unless you spend a great deal of time customizing it, it just kind of looks like every other WooCommerce site.
Exactly. So it's easy to see, oh, okay, this guy's using the Flatsum theme, or this guy's using WooCommerce because the checkouts it's impossible to customize. So we call it a micro builder because we only have components and elements for the e-commerce side of your site. So the builder itself or North Commerce is completely theme or builder agnostic, meaning you can use any WordPress theme or any WordPress builder, and then when you jump into our micro builder in the back end, you'll be able to add any components you'd need, lay out your product pages, your cart pages, your checkout pages, however you'd like, and then just copy and paste a shortcode onto the actual page itself on your WordPress site, and then the e-commerce element that you created with our builder will just magically appear.
Okay, so my next question, and I would like to return to all of the bits and pieces within the UI and how it all works and what menus we've got and what exactly you cover in a moment. But the question which is begging to be asked is, why go up against what is already incredibly popular e-commerce solution? WooCommerce is kind of really run, if you like, by Automatic. They've got a giant developer team. They're constantly working on that product. It has an enormous install base. And so it is a bit like the David and Goliath story in a sense. So I want to know, from your point of view, just on a personal level, why have you spent so much time and energy, blood, sweat and tears, no doubt, building this?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's a question that I honestly don't get asked that much, and I think I have the answer to why that is as well. But before I kind of get into it, I want to tell a story about a client I was working with needed a simple little checkout form, and we were building a little funnel for them where a customer could build that out in Divi, and they could have a checkout form, and that would redirect to an upsell, and then we'd want to do a one-click upsell, and then from there go to a thank you page. So me and a friend of mine who's a developer built this little Divi plugin for this client, and we call it Divi Checkout. And like, oh, this is actually a great product. I'm gonna start selling this on the Elegant Themes marketplace. They just recently released that. So people started buying it, started using it, and they were excited about it. And then they started asking me questions like, "Hey, can I have multiple products on here? Can we have a cart?" And so what I was thinking was, you're using this sort of funnel building tool, and what you're asking for is like an e-commerce solution. Like, just go to WooCommerce. Oh, I can't do it. I don't want to. I just wish you would offer that. And so after probably the 10th or 12th person that asked about carts and multiple products, I'm like, is there a need for a new e-commerce solution? Like, do I dare step into that space of tackling e-commerce on WordPress when WooCommerce has been such a huge player, really the only player in the space for the last 10 or so years? And so after some thinking, some conversations I had with my good friend who worked with me on that Divi checkout plugin, we decided, hey, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's create some mock-ups up. Let's do some iterations and some tests and see what we can come up with. And so we came up with some tests and some mock-ups, and we showed some friends and showed some other people within the community, and they were excited about it. And so since we've released that, some tests and some previews that we released on commerce.northplugins.com, you can check out. We have had nothing but excitement and people going like, finally, someone offering a potentially a better solution to WooCommerce, and not one person has asked me. I mean, not say not one person, but not very many people have asked me, "Wow, are you nervous to go against WooCommerce?" And I see that as a huge opportunity for us to solve all these issues that we've been having with that people have been having with WooCommerce, and I know I don't want to sound like I'm bashing WooCommerce by any means. They're a great platform. I've worked with them for the last 5 or 6 years, and so they're awesome. But there's so much pain points, like I was talking about earlier, with these guys who use these drag and drop builders, and so at this point, I don't necessarily see North Commerce being a competitor to WooCommerce more than it is just another solution that people can have, finally have a choice of what platform they'll use for their e-commerce site on North Commerce. And so, a long story, even longer, we have a community of people who are very, very excited to try a new solution out, and we'll technically go toe to toe with WooCommerce, and we're excited to to be a player in the space and to see if WooCommerce gives us any attention in terms of innovation, or if we just do our thing and they continue to do their thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll see how it all ends up.
Yeah, really interesting. My question, which follows up after that, then I guess has to be: have you been looking kind of at features which typically cause pain in WooCommerce and saying to yourself, okay, that we hear about a lot, that seems to be some area we can fix it? In other words, is it an incremental thing? Okay, this thing's not so great in WooCommerce, we'll do that thing. This other thing is not so great in WooCommerce, we'll concentrate hard on that. Or did you literally start with a blank slate and just said, look, if I could build any kind of e-commerce solution within WordPress, particularly with the drag and drop page builder crowd in mind for ease of use, which of those two? I mean, it may be neither of those two, but it feels like it might be one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. It was more of the blank slate sort of situation. So my background is in web development and e-commerce, and so I've worked on websites for little boutique businesses that do 2,000 to 5,000 a month, and then I've worked on bigger projects with bigger brands that are doing $400,000 or $500,000 a month. And so having seen both spectrums, I'm like, oh man, this is really frustrating to have to deal with this, or things start to bottleneck at this point when we have this many orders, and this integration is great, but then I wish it did that. And so kind of just with years of experience and upsets and things like that, I've seen I'm like, you know what, here's what I would want in terms of an e-commerce solution for WordPress, so here's what I think we'll try and do. So we're kind of starting on a blank slate. Here's our experiences. What would I want? What would agencies want? What would just the random business owner that's looking for a way to build their e-commerce site want? And kind of with those three things in mind, go from there, and then make it as easy as possible for people to get started, create products, and get their site up and running and looking beautiful.
Yeah.
In a matter of a couple of days.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach that you've taken, and again, we'll circle back and we will come to the features and all of those kind of things in a minute. But I'm really curious about where you are right now and how far you've got towards launch, because I'm fairly sure that most of the people listening to this haven't probably explored North Commerce. They may not have even have heard of it. It might be completely fresh and new to them. and that's a product of where you're at in your release cycle. On the website at this exact moment, you are describing early access. Get early access is one of the buttons. And this tells me that you're not quite ready for release, obviously fleshing things out and building up the community and getting feedback from your current users and so on. So just give us some insight into how prepared you are, how far along the journey before 1.0 stable release is going to be.
Okay, good question. So right now we've done a lot of work on the back end, so the admin side of NorthCommerce. So when you log into, you can go see a preview at commerce.northplugins.com, and so once you log into the WordPress dashboard, you'll see NorthCommerce, and you'll be able to sort of get a good look of what it looks like in terms of analytics. You could see what orders will look like and order overviews. You'll be able to create products and set up different emails if you'd like. So you can customize all the stuff like on the WordPress dashboard. What we're doing right now in this particular iteration is we're sort of starting to refine the builder. So we want the builder to not have to be a new experience for everybody. So basically what I mean by that is everyone has their favorite drag and drop builder. Some people might be using Elementor, Oxygen, Divi, Beaver Builder, or whatever you are using at this point. What we're trying to do is we want to make it as easy as possible for anyone from any builder to come into North and feel comfortable moving things around. Because one thing that we want to avoid is like these big context switches. Going from like I'm in Divi, I'm building the entire front end of the website with Divi, and then I go into NorthCommerce. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so used to Divi. I guess North doesn't do it that way. So I gotta refigure out how to do things. And so we want to avoid those sort of context switches so that there's no frustration with going from your builder that you use that you can create your whole website with, and then going to the NorthCommerce builder. So with that said, what we're doing first is we have our builder for single page checkout flows. So that's your typical sales page where you have like a checkout form embedded on the page. Maybe you're selling a course or a book or some service, and it's just basically a single column checkout form. And we're kind of refining that and using that as a testing ground for what the builder will be for all of the e-commerce elements. So in the next couple of weeks, and maybe by the time those listening will be listening to this, we'll have either started our closed beta or we'll be about to start a closed beta, which everyone listening can join that. Just email me. And then as we start to refine the builder for the single page checkout forms, we'll slowly start releasing the builder for the product overview page, or the product, you actually create your product pages, and then the cart pages, the checkout pages, and then get into V1, and then kind of refine from there, and then work on integrations and stuff like that, which would be probably close to like early spring of next year.
Okay. Yeah. So just to be really clear, you're after people who are keen on the idea of using e-commerce in WordPress, maybe not so keen on using WooCommerce, but are prepared to, at this point, help you out, give you some guidance, give you some feedback, and in return, hopefully build a product which people can use. It's not in any way, shape, or form yet ready to be put out into the wild on production sites.
Exactly, yeah. So right now, what we're looking for is basically people who are willing to be early adopters. We'll definitely give you great deals, and you'll have access to a lot of really cool stuff at being an early adopter. But yeah, it's not production ready. This is something that I think I know what I would want in an e-commerce plugin, having worked with different brands and having built so many different e-commerce sites. But there's still so many more use cases that I want to make sure we cater to. Whether that's the way that a Swedish e-commerce store may be different than an e-commerce store here in Arizona or in LA or something like that. In terms of user flows and how the language works and things like that. So there's still so much to learn, and and so much to do. And so anyone that wants to participate in the closed beta will help kind of shape all the different use cases that we'll want to cater to in NorthCommerce.
Thank you. Yeah. So the way to get on that is to, like I said, head over to northplugins.com and sign up. There's some buttons. They get early access, or you can fill out your name and address in the little form at the top. The list of out of the box components, I think this will be something of interest, because I'm imagining people are thinking, well, it's going to be fairly half baked. It won't be anywhere near what WooCommerce is doing out of the gate and so on. So let's just put a bit of context in. These are the things that you either have fully functional already, or you're hoping to be fully functional by the time that people are listening to this. So I'm going to read the list. It's probably something that you're sick and tired of hearing because you're in it every day. But essentially, the components that you're going to be able to use are name, last name, as you'd expect. You'll be able to customize positioning of things like email address, phone number, address with Google Address Autocomplete. That's nice. Payment gateways out of the gate will be PayPal, Stripe, Molly, and then Google and Apple Pay. Is that through Stripe, just quickly?
Yeah, so
Yep.
Apple Pay and Google Pay will be through Stripe and
Oh,
Molly.
Molly does that as well, does it? Thank you. You'll be able to implement coupons. You'll be able to fiddle with the order total. There's order bump functionality. You can use your own custom fields, be they text, checkbox, radio buttons, drop downs. If you're an ACF user, you'll be pleased because that's being integrated. Product variations, product quantities, image galleries, and then it says many more. It seems like quite a lot. How close are you to getting all of that stuff basically nailed down, or is that the wish list for V1?
Yeah, so all of those except for the ACF custom fields will be available in closed beta on the single page checkout forms.
Okay, that's perfect.
And so Molly will be available, Google Address Autocomplete will be available. And then also, we've had a ton of requests. So ACF will be available, and MetaBox will also be available. So that'll be nice because it's highly requested.
Okay, is there some? I mean, you mentioned about the fact that you want to make your UI and UX easier for people who are accustomed to page builders and all of that kind of thing. Is there anything particularly about that you're proud of that you've got so far? I mean, I don't know, maybe you've got a screen that shows the analytics in a slightly different way, or a screen which shows the orders coming out, or here's how you modify your email screen and so on. Anything that you particularly point to where you think, actually, do you know what? We've done a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is going to be the checkout form. So your traditional WooCommerce checkout form is pretty standard with billing address, shipped to a different address, and there's really no images or anything like that to help the user understand what they're purchasing. But if you go to northplugins.com, you'll see at the top of the screen sort of like a little hint of what the checkout form will look like. And we want to make it as easy as possible for users to know what they're purchasing. If they want to add an order bump, then they can do that as well. And then also with the shipping methods, just make it super easy to know when you're getting your item. So one of the really cool things that we're adding to NorthCommerce is an Easy Post integration. So Easy Post is a company that reached out and offered for us to integrate with them. And what they do is they allow you to create all your shipping labels and integrate with any sort of carrier nationwide or worldwide, actually. And what one of the features they offer is shipping estimates based on their own internal data of what traditionally people have been able to get, how long it's been taking them to get their orders. And so we'll have a built-in tool to allow you to show your customers how quickly they'll receive their package.
That's nice.
Based on the Easy Post data. So that's actually really, really cool. And so just little tiny things like that help conversion are something that we're proud of. I think that there's a lot to say around layouts and easy to read text and responsiveness, but these sort of little details that help convert customers is what's something that I'm excited and proud of.
Yeah, that looks really nice. I've got to ask, because everybody's going to want to know this, is there anything that is clearly missing right now? If I go over there and I'm used to WooCommerce and all of the bits and pieces just out of the box working, is there anything that you're still like, boy, we really do need to hurry up and get that done?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's still a lot to do, so it would be easy to say, yeah, we really need to finish, the product overview screens and the cart and checkout pages. Something that I want to do faster than we'll probably end up doing is going to be like product search.
Right.
And so I know like there's a lot of requests around being able to search for products, and there's some other really cool plugins for WooCommerce that do that. But something like that I think would be something that I wish we could get done sooner. Or like multi-site stuff as well. But I think those will have to come after V1, and we'll see how soon we can get to those things.
Yeah, I'm not a big WooCommerce user, but my small forays into it, really, it does tell me that finding things like orders and things like that, it really is much more difficult than you would ever imagine it should be. And so, yeah, addressing that would be great. I actually clicked over. There's a menu at the top of the website. It's like a little black circle at the minute, and if you click on it, you get this big overlay. And one of the options there is integrations. And again, people love all this kind of stuff, so we might as well go through what you've got so far. You can obviously link with the payment gateway Stripe. That's de rigueur. Molly was mentioned as well, and PayPal. But some of the other things that you may be interested in are the messaging side of things. So it connects with ActiveCampaign, Drip, Keep, K-E-A-P, the Infusionsoft thing. Acuity scheduling, MailChimp's in there. You've got Zapier, which is pretty impressive. MemberPress, Twilio, and ShipStation as well. So that really strikes me as quite a lot out of the gate. Is there a roadmap for more things? Are you getting lots of calls to put other things in as well?
Yes. So another thing I forgot to mention is we have a Discord channel where a lot of the people who are part of the alpha right now, and then who will be part of the closed beta, kind of talk about different things and request features or integrations. They can do that. So if you want to join that, you can go to the website and join the Discord as well to chat with us. But there is a ton of different integrations that we have kind of laid out as we start to release V1, and then as we launch, we'll hopefully hire another developer to to work on integrations for us. But I think we'll have stuff like Zapier and Integromat and things like that, where you can connect with these one tools that then connect with thousands of other tools.
Yeah.
Makes things a lot easier. So we may not have a ton of integrations yet, but you can still integrate with Zapier, which then allows you to connect with all those other apps, which is awesome. But direct integrations always make things a whole lot easier. So these are kind of the immediate ones. As we start to roll things out, we'll kind of have a vote, I guess, within the community and see what ones are most desired or are requested, and then we'll add them as we go.
Okay, let's talk about speed and the sort of lightweight or otherness of it. WooCommerce famously kind of, there's a fair amount going on there, so there's a fair amount of horsepower that's needed to make all of that work. This is probably something that's kept you awake at night, trying to make it as lean as possible. And I know that our audience, being the keen, intelligent WordPressers that they are, will probably want to know that if I'm going to install this on my website, it's not going to be bogged down. So anything that you've got to say to speak to that would be great to hear.
Yeah. So WooCommerce, traditionally they use WordPress tables in the database, and so that's something that slows down queries, posting and getting. And so what we're doing with North Commerce is we're using custom tables. And so we won't have to serialize anything. We can, get requests faster and, query data that much quicker. So, if you have a smaller store, you may see, a slight difference, but some of these stores that have hundreds or thousands of SKUs, we'll definitely see a difference in performance in terms of load times and checkout times and things like that. I think traditionally you've seen if you've seen a WordPress site and they have sort of like an Ajax quantity setup
Yep.
where you can like in the cart page or in the checkout page you can change the quantity from like 1 to 2
Yep.
and then you get a loader, and it kind of takes a second or two to load. That's kind of a poor user experience. And so what we're working on with North Commerce is making all that super quick. So if if you're changing quantities or changing products or adding things or changing the variation that you've selected, you'll see virtually no load times, and it'll be a lot quicker to just get through the product checkout experience. And so that'll be something that'll be really nice. There's definitely a lot less technical debt. I think WooCommerce is wonderful. They've had to grow with WordPress, and so WordPress has changed so much over the years in the last 10 years that there's some things that they couldn't change because it would
Yep.
break, hundreds of thousands of different e-commerce sites. And so we're kind of met with post WordPress 5, and we can kind of go from there and then have a lot less technical debt and
Yeah.
speed things up.
Yep. Do you have, you mentioned right at the top that you create the bits and pieces in your builder, and then I think I'm right in saying that it pops out a shortcode and you then deploy that shortcode wherever you like. Do you sort of integrate, or do you plan to integrate with other builders, not for the build process of the carts and the checkouts and all of that kind of stuff, but to deploy it on particular pages like Gutenberg or Oxygen and all of that kind of stuff? Or are you going to stick with the shortcode copy and paste model?
Yeah, so as of right now, we'll probably stick with the copy and paste shortcode model. I'm not entirely sure how that will evolve with other builders. I think maybe Gutenberg might be the first one we look into and see what we can do in terms of just like adding those elements to a page. But for the most part, what you'll be able to do is create the e-commerce element in our micro builder. That'll generate the shortcode, and then you can sort of place that anywhere in the builder, and then as you start to see how it renders within your builder container, you can from there kind of set the width or the columns within your builder to sort of customize it from there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to see how it all evolves, but the goal is to give you as much creative control as possible within your own personal builder that you like, and then our micro builder.
Thank you. The other menu item, I mentioned integrations earlier, and we went through all of those. And the other menu item is the changelog, and it's there's a fair bit in there considering you've only been going since June this year. There's several updates. The last one, as of this moment in time, was in August 27th, 2021, which is all about modifying emails inside of your own custom email builder, which is really nice. I'm interested in, at this point, in how wedded you are to what you've got. In other words, if loads of people hop on board and they are clamoring for something, are you still in that kind of, yeah, it's all up for grabs. I'm totally willing to backpedal on some things that I've done, or maybe even completely redesign other things depending on what the crowd that you get in your pre-beta alpha stages, wherever we're at. Are you willing to really kind of like change things around depending on the hue and cry that your community give you?
Yeah, so I'd say that I'm pretty committed to the core features of North Commerce, but there really is I'm not romantic with, or there's no ego around some of the other features. And so, for example, if the HTML and CSS editor for the email builders was kind of wacky or something, or people wanted an actual builder for the emails versus just like copying pasting HTML and CSS in there, then that's something I would absolutely look at. If there's something with order creation or or a certain integration or a certain user experience with the builder, and people have collectively sort of like voiced their opinions that something should change, then me and the team are 100% on board, kind of adapting and modifying whatever needs to be changed for, the community.
Okay.
So like I have my kind of workflow that I like, and working with North Commerce, I'm not building around myself, but I want to build around the entire community and all their use cases. And so we definitely will consider all those, but there's no ego or no romance, as they say sometimes with some ideas. So
Yeah.
if we need to pivot or change something, then we're all on board to do that if it's going to be what's best for the plugin.
Yeah, I guess the crucial message here is if you get involved and you submit your email address and get stuck into it, you've got a chance to forge the future of something with Kelly. If you don't, then you're gonna see what the product of that community will be. Now, speaking of that community, obviously there's some quid pro quo, let's call it that. You've offered already that people who become involved and help you out and give you some pointers and some guidance about what they want, you're going to give them some financial benefit at some point going forwards. Speaking about that, though, have you got a model for how the pricing is going to work? So if we're on the WooCommerce side, we're totally free, right? We've got the free version of WooCommerce, and then it's almost like death by 1,000 paper cuts, isn't it? The little incremental things add up, and all of a sudden you're spending a lot of money. So I'm just curious about what the base product is going to cost and whether you're going to go for pay for little things here and there if you want extra functionality. It's a bit of blue sky thinking. You may not have any of these integrations in mind, but whether there's going to be a free model with bits that are added in, or is there a one-size-fits-all payment that you're going to require of people? All around pricing, really.
Yeah. So I will say prices are subject to change. I haven't fully decided on the prices yet,
Okay.
but the model we're choosing to do now is kind of a pay to play. So there will be an option to download a free version of the plugin. You can mess around with it. You could even build your entire store with it, and but you just wouldn't be able to accept live payments. You'd just be able to accept test payments, and then when you're ready to go live, you would just purchase a license. But what we'll do is we'll have everything is included within a license. We'll have a small monthly payment for that. So we're kind of flirting with the $15 to $19 range a month for a single site license.
Huh, that's nice. Yeah.
And then we'll have multi-site licenses, which will range from 5 to 10 sites for some more amount of money, maybe 65 to $100. I'm just giving ranges because I don't want to commit to a certain
that's fine.
price.
Understood. Yeah.
And then we'll have, and then our last sort of tier will be for agencies where they can pay, either a yearly amount and then get like, a couple hundred to to 1,000 site license for all their clients as an agency.
Yeah.
And so they'll both have, monthly payments and a discounted yearly payment as well. So
I get it. So the intention really is you're going more down the model of a per site license as opposed to every single little bit costing a little bit extra. That's interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see how that develops. But obviously nobody's going to hold you to it. We'll have to see how the economics stack up. The other thing which I think people are going to want to know is the support and how long you intend this to be around. Obviously, it's easy to say, yeah, we're gonna keep it going forever. Yeah, all well and good. But if people begin building their shops, their online stores on top of this state, they really do need to have clarity that there's a commitment from your end that you're going to keep it up through adversity, through the good times and the bad times. So however you want to take that question, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So, I think a good example would be what we're doing with that original Divi checkout plugin that we created. So, we'll no longer support that once North Commerce comes out, but those who purchase a license for that will continue to get support from us, and then we'll get them on a North Commerce license that's at the grandfathered in price that they paid for Divi checkout, which would be a massive discount. And so we would do the same thing for them. I think both me and the developers I'm working with are very committed to this project. Me as the founder, I'm in it for the long run. So if you plan on building with us, then no matter what, we'll make it work one way or the other. If something catastrophic happens, then we'll coordinate some sort of migration and help you kind of get cleared up. But there's a lot to say, when it comes to the plugin props failing or something like that. But kind of as an e-commerce owner myself, store owner myself, if I continue to use it for my stores, then we'll continue to support it. And so I think there's no worries in terms of like you guys not receiving any support from us or anything like that if something was to happen. We're here to help you either continue to use WooCommerce, or if in the catastrophic event, then we'd help migrate you over something else, and it won't be a problem.
Well, I really appreciate that. I think that's a really forthright and honest answer. Even just mentioning the fact that if something catastrophic happens is a step further than I thought you'd go. So that's really nice to hear. Thank you. So the podcast today has one intention. It is to spark your interest in WooCommerce. The way that you're going to do that is to go, like I said, go to northplugins.com, have a poke around. It's as of this exact minute, there's a couple of pages there to look at. So go and have a look. If somebody wants to, or should I say, if somebody gets interested in that and they want to know more, and they want to know more directly from you or your team, Kelly, what's the best way to get in touch?
So the best way would be to either submit that form on the homepage, and then an automated email will go out to you, and then I always will reply to your replies personally. So usually I welcome you with an automated email, and then I ask you a question, and then once you respond to that question, then we kind of go from there one-on-one. So I'll always answer your emails back to that first automated email, and that's probably the best way. If you don't want to do that, you can always just click the help button at the bottom right of northplugins.com and basically submit a ticket, and I'll be on those as well. So I'll be more than happy to hear any questions or feedback you guys have, and show you kind of where to get started.
I think this is such an interesting project. I think you're very courageous to have put so much time into something that, you're up against, like I said right at the start, you're up against a great big leviathan of a competitor. So all I would say is, I wish you the very best of luck. I hope that this podcast gets some people looking at your solution. I really do. And thank you so much for spending some time with us today talking about your new adventure, WooCommerce.
Thanks so much for having me, Nathan. I appreciate the conversation and being invited on here. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that podcast. Very nice chatting to Kelly Muro, and very exciting at the very, very beginning of a new commerce plugin intended to take on WooCommerce, WooCommerce. As I said, we're in alpha, possibly beta stage, depending on what time of the year you listen to this podcast. So it may well be that you'll be able to get in there, join that community, and possibly influence the direction that the plugin takes. Hopefully you got something out of that. I really hope that you did. If you did, don't forget to leave a comment on the wpbuilds.com website. You're looking for episode 258. Alternatively, head over to wpbuilds.com/Facebook and join our Facebook community. Over 2,900 very friendly and polite WordPressers, and you could leave a comment there in the thread in our Facebook group. Don't forget that we'll be joined by some notable WordPress guests on Monday, each and every Monday, in fact, 2 p.m. UK time, wpbuilds.com/live for our This Week in WordPress show. Really appreciate all those people who show up and give us comments. That person could be you. Do join us this Monday. And if you can't join us for that, we'll be back next Thursday for a podcast episode. But because it was an interview this week, I'll be with David Wormsley next week. Okay, I'm going to fade in some cheesy music. I would wish you a very safe and happy week, and I'll say bye-bye for now.